If you love cute and cozy winter decor that doesn't cost much, well, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Leslie, and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. Today I'm sharing 5 stinking cute winter DIYs that you're just gonna love. Now don't forget to stick around until the very end, and I'll have a hint on one of next week's projects. So let's get to it. Let's get started with a quick sneak peek of all 5 of today's projects. I am so excited to bring these to you today. And our first project, we went shopping in our outdoor store for part of this project. The rest of the project is reusing some of that Christmas decor. You know, we always get those cards in the mail and not quite sure what to do with them after Christmas. So I thought this was such a super cute idea of something you could do with those lovely and beautiful Christmas cards. So I got this one in the mail, and it had these 2 birds on it, and I decided I was going to cut it in half and do 2. First, I'm going to start with the twig size that I decided to use, and we're going to measure it across the top and the bottom of our little card piece. Once we've gotten that size determined and we cut with our saw and miter box, then I'm going to measure off how big we need for the 2 side pieces. And that creates our frame. Now I'm just going to glue this on with a little bit of hot glue, but since you're going to see the edges, I decided to trim off that one that I tore. And we'll hot glue those on to the top and the bottom of this section. Now, something else that you could do that would be really cute with a card, if you have like a bigger card that you didn't want to cut in half or cut pieces out of, you could create like a little wall hanging instead of these little picture frames. Now, once I got the picture frame pieces around the sides, I decided that I wanted to make it look kind of like a window. And so I am going to take a smaller twig and create a little, I can't think of, window divider. It actually has a name. If you know what the name of it is, comment down below and remind me. But we're going to do a little bit of that decorative window, and I had to kind of adjust where I was going to put that, because I don't know if you caught that, but I set that down in that card too quick, and hot glue is going to stick where it's going to stick. And then I decided to go ahead and create a little stand for it with another twig. So I found one that had kind of a little bendy piece to it, and clipped it off with my miter shears, making a nice angled edge there. And check these out. Aren't these just the most adorable little pieces? Fun to keep that Christmas spirit alive, but also bring winter into your decor. I just wanted to pop in here real quick and say thank you. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. And if you are new or newish here, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking the bell below. It's free to you and helps my channel grow. Give today's video a big old thumbs up, share it with your friends, comment down below, give it a hype, and let's get back to crafting. That'll bring us to project number 2. This is one of my favorites of this video. So I'm going to start with this little gather together sign that I bought at the Dollar Tree, and that the gather together part actually sticks out, and I thought maybe I might want to use it on something else. So I was trying to salvage it without ripping the paper off of the frame up underneath it. So we're just going to use our heat tool, sorry for that nice view of my head, and a little spatula, and we are going to take that off. Now, once I got that all off, I took that piece out of the frame so that we could paint it. And I am using sandstone chalk paint by Waverly that you can get at Walmart. It did take a couple, 2 or 3 coats in order to get rid of all of that fall design that was on there. Next, we're going to grab 2 of these little pieces. These wood pieces come in a 6-pack at Dollar Tree, and I am going to use my cardboard scissors to cut this out. Not everybody has a laser printer or cutter or, a cutting tool of some sort. And so these cardboard scissors actually worked really great to cut through this. And it's a little bit thicker than, like a thick cardboard as far as the sturdiness, but those scissors did a great job. Now you'll notice I'm holding on and letting go. And what you're not seeing, because I fast forwarded it, is I was using two hands to get that cut. And once I got the body cut out, then I designed and cut out the head. And I just freehanded that. And then I took my handy dandy little nail file and sanded that all down on all of the sides of both pieces to give it a smooth look, and then came in with the Snow White chalk paint. This is also a Waverly color from Walmart. Then we're going to reinsert that piece into our frame because we want to make sure that we have the snowman placed in exactly the right position. Then, using a little piece of scrap, I cut off a piece for the nose, and now I'm going to sand that down. We are going to paint his nose this pumpkin color, and that's another Waverly color. Once we've gotten that all painted up and looking super cute, then we are going to get the bottom of our snowman glued down. I'm just going to use the wood glue by Super Glue that you can buy at Dollar Tree, and then get that centered into my little frame. Now this frame has kind of a gray stripy kind of look to it, and I liked that, so I didn't repaint it, but you could definitely repaint that frame if you wanted it to be a different color. Then I grabbed out some buttons, and I picked out the 3 buttons that I wanted for the snowman body, went ahead and glued on the nose, and then I'm grabbing these little dot stickers that I got from Dollar Tree, and I am going to color those up with the ink colored chalk paint by Waverly. It's unfortunate that the Dollar Tree stickers don't come in black or, lots of colors that I would actually use, but the beautiful part is you can always cover those up with paint. All right, so next we're going to grab some of this foam tape, and you can find this at Dollar Tree. They usually have it in packs of 3 in the craft section, and I am going to go ahead and stick that onto the back of his head because I wanted that lifted up a little bit off of his body. And part of the reason for that is that I wanted to be able to put on his scarf and not have it be too bulky and create an issue when I was trying to get that glued on. So I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue and glue that onto the back of his neck, and then get that scarf in place. Now this scarf, or this fabric piece that I'm using, is actually part of an old scarf that I bought at Dollar Tree years ago that I just use for just such occasions. And then I'm going to cut a little bit of fringe on that, and then take off that foam tape backing and go ahead and get that head put in place. Then I'm just going to glue down the buttons using some hot glue and grab those stickers that we painted earlier to put his smile on. Now I know these stickers have a sticky back. Unfortunately, you can't guarantee that they're going to stay stuck. So I'm just going to add a dab of hot glue onto the bottom of those. And because it's paint kind of over plastic, and I did not sand it, kind of roughen it up first, I did have to go back and touch up a couple of these. So keep that in mind. If you don't want to have to touch them up later, then if you just grab a little bit of sandpaper, you can rough those up, and that will help that paint stick better. All right, now I'm going to grab my eyeshadow. It's the best color of pink for nice rosy cheeks, and we're going to just give his cheeks a nice little dab of color there. Then I went in search of something that I could use out of my scrap bin for his arms and hands, and I found this piece. It was actually part of the nativity from the dollar store 3D kit for the nativity, and I didn't use this piece. I must have just used Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus. And it was the perfect thing to look like a twig. Of course, if you don't have this, you could actually just use real twigs or, a couple of scrap pieces of wood. And I painted those truffle color and then glued them down. And I kind of liked the fact that they stuck out away from his body onto that frame. It just gives you that kind of 3D appearance that it's actually, his arms are lifted up and excited. So grabbed some of my Valentine's stash from last year, and I just grabbed a few hearts. Some of these were the hearts on the little skewers, and I cut those in half because they're really thick. And then some of the other hearts. And once I got the number of hearts that I wanted and got them all kind of in place, you can see they're all different colors. And I'm also going to use that little pink one because I'd cut that in half for something else. I wanted to paint these all red. Now I'm going to use this newish red color that I found at Walmart in the Waverly colors. And I want to say it's like Lagoon or something like that. It has a real funky name to it. If I think about it, I'll stick the name there in the comments below. But I went ahead and gave them all a nice coat of that paint, and then we're going to use that wood glue again by super glue to glue them all down. And then I wanted to make it a little sign, and so I grabbed these letter stamps that I bought at Hobby Lobby and some red ink, and we're going to put "Love is in the air." Now, if you don't have these stamps, it was actually a great investment because I use them all the time. But if you don't have them, you can hand write this little sign. You could maybe use your cutting machine and print out or cut out something. You could also use stickers if you wanted. So there's lots of different options for how you could do the sign, or you could just forego the sign altogether. I think it's still cute without the sign. But I thought with the hearts in the air kind of above his head, it was just the perfect final touch to this cute little snowman. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you like it as much as I do. That brings us to project number 3. I am loving this little sledding guy, and he is the perfect size to put on a tiered tray. All right, so we're going to grab some more of that red fabric that we had from that old scarf. We're going to grab some beads, a couple of little small ones, a bigger one for the head, and that body one is actually one of those beads that you can get at Michael's in the little kids crafter section, and it only has the hole in the bottom. Those are really good for being used with those craft pegs, the old-fashioned clothespins. But we're going to use that for the body, and I used another scrap piece of wood and cut it out using my cardboard scissors, and that's going to be the bottom of our sleigh. So we're going to give that body a nice coat of red chalk paint, or you can paint it whatever color you want to match your material that you're going to use for the hat. And then I'm going to go ahead and I painted the sled. Now in Michigan, we used to call it actually a toboggan. Here in Texas, they call a toboggan is a hat, which was always really funny to me that people were wearing toboggans on their heads. Anyway, I kind of gave that toboggan or sled a couple of different coats of paint to kind of give it that worn look, and then I cut out a nice little triangle out of my fabric to create a nice long flowy hat. And so it's going to give our little sledder the appearance that he is flying down the hill in his sled and his hat is streaming behind his head. And I'm using some craft glue to glue that on. That's that the cloth glue, not craft glue, cloth glue, and that's that cloth hat. My goodness, am I having a trouble here? That's the cloth hot glue, and we are going to just form our hat using that a little bit of that glue at a time until we get it all the way pointed to look like it's flowing behind his head. And then I'm going to grab a tiny little white pom-pom out of this package from Dollar Tree and put that at the very end of his hat. Once we've gotten that done, and you can see I've got it all glued onto his head now, which I did paint white, by the way. We're going to start assembly. And so just a little bit of hot glue onto the base of that bead, and then we are going to grab a little bit more hot glue onto our smaller beads, leaving the bead opening from side to side so that we can run our little string through it. And that's going to give us the appearance of him holding on to that rope to sled his little sled down the nice snowy hill. Now here in Texas, of course, we don't have any snow on the hills, but I'll bet you do in other places around the country. Let me know if you guys still like to go sledding. That is such fun. I haven't been in a number of years. Last time I had my grandkids up in Michigan was, I want to say my youngest grandson was just 9 or 10 months old, so it's had to have been like 4 years ago. Anyway, here's our sled all nice and complete, and that brings us to project number 4. This one, it could be an almost free project, and it's based on this inspiration of this Pottery Barn planked wood snowflake that they were actually selling for $349, and on sale it was $100 and something. Anyway, we are going to make this for hardly any money at all. So I had this little sign that I bought on clearance at Hobby Lobby, and went out shopping in my outdoor store for some sticks. So I decided kind of what size sticks I wanted, and then I peeled all the bark off so that they would resemble those, we'll call them sticks, quote unquote, from that Pottery Barn dupe. It is a little time consuming to take off the bark off of these little sticks. You don't have to peel it like I did. You could probably sand it off, probably easier than what it took me, but I just put on a nice movie in the background and went to town. Anyway, now we're going to do our layout. So we're going to have one center piece, and then we're going to make an X over that center piece for our snowflake. I'm going to grab a straight edge and kind of figure out how I need to cut them so they're equal, and I'm just going to use my miter shears here. And then as you can see, I used my miter shears to make an angled edge so that I could put that down our wood plank board. Once I got that set in place, I started cutting some little angled pieces, and I just made them angled on one side so that they could come together in kind of a, I'm going to say it's probably like a 33 or maybe a 45-degree angle. I just, kind of some trial and error. You'll see a bunch of little pieces over there until I figured out what was going to be the right angle to hit and how big those pieces were going to need. And I can't give you direct measurements just because, it's going to be dependent on the size of sticks you use and how big you build your snowflake. So it's just going to be a trial and error. But anyway, once we got all those glued together, we're going to take some wood hot glue and we're going to glue down our little X star piece and make sure that it's stuck well to our board. Of course, you got to be careful with that hot glue so that you're not getting it everywhere. Otherwise, it takes away from the design a little bit. And then we're going to glue all the in-between pieces on. Now I was trying to get them so that they looked like they were actually flowing from one to the other, and it was maybe a continuous piece even though it's not. But I was trying to make it as professional-ish looking as possible. Now this piece, although I thought I had it measured properly, didn't fit right in there. And so I'm going to move that piece and use a different piece. And then we'll trim it down just a little bit. It kind of got a little funky angle going on over there. But I'll fix it here in a second. Anyway, so I'm going to take my little trimming tools, from a trimming tool. It's not a trimming tool, it's like a wire cutter thing from Harbor Freight, and I trimmed it down so that it fit in there perfectly. And once we've gotten those done, then I also cut some other little angled pieces, and they're only angled on one side to fit on the ends of our snowflake. And we're going to go all the way around, putting 2 onto every one of those little star branches, and that'll finish up our snowflake. It was either last year, maybe earlier this year, that I made a snowflake out of tumbling tower blocks, and I thought that turned out super cute. I'll have that linked in the comments below. I actually have it hanging out in my living room today. I loved the way that turned out too, but I thought this is just a super cute design, and once I got kind of the flow of what I was doing, it was actually very easy to put together, and literally other than the back piece cost me nothing, which you could recycle something or even put some slats together like paint stir sticks or something to make that background. But I think that turned out super cute. And that brings us to our final project number 5. This one I love just because it's just a whole different take on a snowman. So we're going to use one of these 3D kits from Dollar Tree, and even though they didn't have a lot of wood pieces out, I didn't feel like this winter or this Christmas season, they did have a lot of these 3D packets out. And this one had snowman and some trees, so that's what I grabbed out of it. Probably throw the rest of it into my wood scrap pile, and I trimmed off the tabs off the bottoms, and then I am going to separate these trees. So we'll put 2 trees into one clump, they kind of match together, and then have that other tree be a single tree. And then I'm just going to take my handy dandy nail file, and I am going to file down those edges until I get a nice clean kind of snowy look. All right, now on this little house frame, which I actually bought from Facebook Marketplace, this lady was selling off a bunch of her craft supplies, and she had 5 or 6 of these little houses and some wood rounds and a bunch of other pieces. And so you'll see these houses come up again because I have a bunch of them, and I paid $20 for probably $150 worth of supplies. So keep in mind, you can get some pretty cheap stuff on Facebook Marketplace too. All right, and we are going to make this kind of blue, snowy winter night background, and I'm not going to go through great detail of showing you how I actually put it all together. Other than it's 4 different colors and we're kind of blending all the colors together. But I did have a video where I did show you how I went through and put it together, and I will have that video linked below. We did that earlier in the Christmas season on I want to say it was maybe a felt ball tree I did. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and paint this background, and once I've gotten that done, I'm going to use a combination of markers and paints, and we are going to paint our little pieces together. So on this first tree, I'm going to take some of the darker green and kind of go through and draw that out, and then a little bit of the lighter green, and then we're going to come in with some brown and do the tree base, and then I'll do some white, and I eventually end up putting in some puff paint on that white to make it look a little bit more snowy. But I'm just going to paint these up, so you can paint them or marker them or color them in however you want to color them in, so that they fit with whatever decor colors you're going for. I just kind of went with kind of a traditional snowman with the black hat and the orange carrot nose and the red scarf and mittens, and then colored the snowman part white. Now on this second group of trees, I went in with this darker green paint and then a lighter green paint. One of the things that playing with watercolors has done is kind of given me some ideas of shading and blending things together, and I love the way these trees turned out. They were you know, they just looked more realistic-ish, I guess. And then I'm going to use some more of that foam tape, and I am going to create kind of a shadow box effect of lifted items on this. So the first tree, we're going to put this in the background, we'll say, and so I just put one layer of that tape on there, and then I'm going to set that directly onto the paint. And then this second grouping of trees, I'm going to bring that into the foreground a little bit, and so I'm going to actually do 2 layers of this tape. So it's 2 thicknesses thick. So I put down the one thickness and then, you know, pulled off the sticky part and put a second piece on there. And once I've gotten that all done, we're going to stick that down. Now on this one, before I glue it down, I'm going to grab some puff paint, and I am going to add a little bit of puff paint onto the branches, so that we add some snowy effect to it. Since we have that snow down at the bottom, I thought the branches should look like they're actually getting snow. And I did that, added that to that first tree as well. And I did some snow splatter on our winter scenery and added a little bit of that snow onto our snowman hat as well. Now on that snowman, I am actually going to glue him down to that frame so that he is in the front. And then I have some of these snowflakes. Some are from Hobby Lobby, some are from Dollar Tree, some I think I got from Temu. And I just grabbed, you know, a bunch of snowflakes and stuck them up in that winter sky, and then glued those down with a little bit of hot glue. As I'm finishing this project up, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate all y'all's support this year. It has been an amazing, crazy, kind of whirlwind year. But no matter how crazy it got, spending time with you guys each week has been the highlight of my year. And the sweet comments that you leave me are so lovely and supportive, and they bring such joy to my heart. I just can't express that enough. And so I just wanted to say thank you for this year, and I am looking forward to another year with you guys. And here is our final look at all of today's projects. I am in love with all of these. I think they are all so unique and sweet and cute. And that snowman on the right there, he is just stinking adorable. As always, I love when you guys leave me comments about which one or ones are your favorites and which one or ones you might like to try to recreate. And if you do, you know, please take a picture and email me to happytuesdaydiy@gmail.com. You know, when you guys take my projects and you take them to the next level, that just brings me so much inspiration, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And I am looking forward to another year of crafting with y'all. Happy New Year's.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I had so much fun, and I hope you did too. Now, since you stuck around till the very end, here's your hint on one of next week's projects. We're going to get our tumbling tower blocks out. But until then, make it a great day, and Happy Tuesday!